Hello and welcome to another video and what's going to be the last full game review of the year. Even with changing things up here and not really doing a lot of game reviews anymore unless I feel it's warranted. I've never felt more compelled, at least this console generation, to do a full proper review for a video game than I have for what I'm about to review. So as you can tell from the title of this review already, I think Alan Wake 2 is a pretty spectacular video game. And it really caught me off guard because I've said before on the channel, I've streamed a little bit of the original Alan Wake. I just replayed the original Alan Wake all the way through for the first time in over a decade, and I'm not the biggest fan of the original Alan Wake. I think it's a fine video game, but in terms of it as a survival horror game, I think it's weaker than a lot of the other classics that we remember, even from that era. So I'd actually go as far as to say that I enjoy Silent Hill Downpour more than I enjoy the original Alan Wake, and that's right away already going to get some feathers ruffled, I'm sure. But I also have really enjoyed watching Remedy as a studio kind of come into their own in the last couple of years. You know, we had Quantum Break, which for what it was actually not a bad video game. I think it's a better game now, given all the patches and updates. And being able to remove the TV element out of that, I think helps a lot. It's actually a game I'd like to revisit. I haven't played since it came out, but it wasn't a bad video game. But then Control is kind of what really blew Remedy up as a studio, which Control, I've argued many times for, is like a game of the decade game. Like, it's that good. For me, a lot was riding on Alan Wake 2, not only as Remedy's next project, doing a sequel, ramping up the horror element of Alan Wake, but also I was most curious, well, we kind of tied Alan Wake into this Control universe and are making this big Remedy verse, as you will. What are they going to do, with elements of Control in this game? And the answer is, in many ways, Alan Wake 2 is a direct sequel to the original Alan Wake, but it's also a solid follow-up to Control. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, what? When they sit down and play the game. I will also say, like, if you haven't played Control and you are just going into this game as a sequel to Alan Wake, well, yes, it is a direct sequel to Alan Wake. I think there's a lot you will miss that'll just go over your head if you don't play Control. So I would highly encourage anybody out there that's looking to play Alan Wake 2 that maybe hasn't played Control, go play Control. You are going to get so much more out of this game having played Control. Where do I even begin? So the best way I can describe Alan Wake 2 is when we sit down and we look at the game, Alan Wake 2 is very much more in line with Twin Peaks, and Control, which kind of borrowed elements of Twin Peaks and X-Files and Hannibal, really leans more towards X-Files. This far more Twin Peaks. This is also essentially Twin Peaks The Return, so the 2017 season, to the original Alan Wake, which I would say is more the original Twin Peaks. And again, Twin Peaks The Return did not exist at the time that Alan Wake came out. So it's much darker. It's much more violent. It's way wackier. It's way more out there. And I loved every single minute of this game. I'll put it this way. I don't really have the notion to put off playing games or playing a specific game because I'm enjoying it so much I don't want it to end. I had that problem with Alan Wake 2, where I found myself playing less and less of it because I did not want the game to end. I was enjoying it that much. And then I finally got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to beeline it because I wanted to see what was happening with the story and how it was going to kind of wrap it up. Alan Wake 2 also does this Twin Peaks thing where it balances two different storylines. So yes, it very much balances the story of Alan Wake, where he's been trapped for the last 13 years, very much parallel to how Agent Cooper was trapped in Twin Peaks. He's very much been trapped in the dark place. And they go as far as to have a sort of doppelganger, kind of like a Bob character. In this game, the character's name is Scratch, but it can manifest itself into other people's bodies, kind of like Bob. So again, they borrow so many elements of Twin Peaks that, like, I really don't need a Twin Peaks video game. I got it in Alan Wake 2. It's done to such perfection. The visuals, holy shit, man. Like, this game, this Northlight engine that they have is so good in comparison to a lot of other game engines out there. The fact that I played this entire game on performance mode, it does have a quality mode that runs the visuals at a higher frame rate or higher resolution, I should say, which it's I believe it gets pretty close to 4K. I don't think it's a full 4K. Running it at performance mode to hit that locked 60, which I'll say it right up. It's a locked 60 on Series X. That's where I played it. You can go watch Digital Foundry video. They go pretty hard through it, but it's basically a locked 60 at 1440p or 2K resolution, and the game looks phenomenal. Like, I don't think any visual quality is lost on performance modes, and I'm of the mindset I'm always going to choose frame rate over a quality mode if I can. So that's more important to me, is having that smooth experience in the game. So, and man, it shows in Alan Wake. It's visually incredibly stunning. There's so many things that they do in this game, like superimposing other images over what you're seeing, in a very Twin Peaks manner, bringing the elements together of Saga Anderson's story and Alan Wake's story, which they are two completely different characters in this game, but their stories obviously intersect. And Saga Anderson, I went into this game going, well, I don't know anything about the Saga Anderson character, and it ended up, the game does a really cool thing where, like, it lets you play as Alan Wake and Saga Anderson, and then you can choose. At a certain point, the game kind of branches off and goes, okay, you can play as Alan Wake and do his story. You can play as Saga Anderson and do her story. You can, go in between both of them. Eventually, at a certain point, their stories kind of intersect again, and you have, like, kind of an end game, so to speak. I found myself blazing through Saga Anderson's story because I found it's just so utterly fascinating. They really ramped up the town of Bright Falls in making it its own character in this game. All the different, like, townspeople and stuff. If there's a complaint I could throw, is I would like to have explored the town of Bright Falls even more. It kind of has this, like, block where you get to a certain point where you can't even go further down certain streets and stuff of the actual town, which does suck. I mean, I would have loved to really dive deeper into it. A lot of the game takes place in a forested part of Bright Falls. A good portion of it takes place in Alan Wake's, like, dream world, which is like this very, very messed up version of New York City that's constantly changing because it's in this, like, dreamlike world that he's stuck in. It is so fascinating. And so expertly put together video game, like, story-wise, visually. It's one of those, like, you look at this and go, like, this is a piece of art. And that's exactly what Alan Wake 2 is. It is playing a piece of art. It's really something else. The other thing that surprised me, like, tremendously in this game is how much Control is in this game. Like, obviously, we played Control. We learned that this is a shared universe now with Alan Wake. Control is kind of like this FBI bureau that is almost like, think of, like, the X-Files division of the FBI if it was an entire bureau. And that's what Control kind of is. They're out there. They're exploring what's called altered world events, and that's one of the big DLCs in the original Control. Is there's one that ties Alan Wake into this universe, which, again, I guess a minor spoiler, but Here, there's so many elements of Control. There's a point where the FBC actually overtakes the investigation. It's so integrated with Control that, like I said, you could play this game without playing Control, but I think you would lose a lot of the story because there's so much of Control in this game. But it's not necessary, I guess, to play Control, but I think you lose a lot if you haven't played Control. So again, I highly encourage anybody out there. Control is such a wonderful video game. And right now, you know, at the time of recording this, you can get it for $10 on Black Friday digital, the Ultimate Edition for PS5 or Series X, and that's the best version to play. So has all the DLC and everything. The other thing that Alan Wake 2 does really well is it mixes a lot of live action FMV sequences with gameplay with everything, but it does it so well. Remedy's always had this fascination of like doing like television elements and stuff into their games that I think between this and Control they finally struck the right balance, if so to speak, and it works even better I think in Alan Wake than it did in Control. Balancing these different characters, balancing their stories, how everything intersects. It's a mind-blowing video game that like I would put down every night. I would play it and I get done, you know, with whatever session, I put it down, but this just gets better and better. There's nothing about this that I'd say I'm having a negative part of. There's no portion of the game where I'd go, man, I really didn't enjoy that, or man, that was kind of shitty to control. The controls are obviously great. It is a survival horror game, so like ammo is scarce, but you're never really put into a situation where it's a problem. Like even in some of the bigger boss battles, they dump enough ammunition at you that it's not really a concern or a problem. It's just, God, it's such a wonderful video game. Like I said before, and I've kind of said like since September, like Starfield's the game to beat. I don't know if anything's going to beat it. And I did not go into Alan Wake 2 thinking that this would probably be my game of the year. I went into Alan Wake 2 going, yeah, I loved Control. Control was my game of the year in 2019, and I would love to see what Remedy can do now with Alan Wake. And I walked away from this going, I might actually like this game more than Control, how well it's done and everything. It does. I'm not going to spoil the story. That'll be something that will be spoiled on podcast 572. So I highly encourage, if you want to hear my thoughts more on like story spoilers and specifics on that, I am going to talk about that on the next podcast 572 episode. That'll be out probably December 2nd. So that's when I'll kind of go through the story a lot more. I don't want to spoil it here. But I will say it does end in such a way that you could easily make a third Control or just do more DLC. I'm down for either. So obviously there's a season pass, so they're going to do something with DLC, but I would love a sequel to this. At this point, I've already said like, hey, we're working on Control 2. They're working on some sort of cooperative game that's set in this universe. I just want Control 2, and then you can make an Alan Wake 3. The only thing I'll say that's a bummer, and I would put this as like a minor spoiler in the game. There's a lot of Control elements. There are some cameos from characters from Control. The one cameo that I wanted to see in this game does not happen. Which is I wanted that Jesse Faden, which is the main character of Control. I wanted a cameo with her. You know, she's now the director of the FBC, you know, at the end of that game. You don't get that here. And it's fine. Like you could save that for DLC or something. I think who they have in place of her as an agent from the Federal Bureau of Control is perfectly fine. Again, everybody does such a great job here. The last thing I want to highlight, and I will put it, I will show sequences of it in the review. I'm not going to play the audio because I'm sure it'll get copyright striked because it is a very copyrighted song. But one of my favorite elements of this game is that they took the band Old Gods of Asgard, which was a band that was in Control, some of other Remedy's other games, and they're actually characters in this game. They're very heavily weaved into this story. but they do a part of this game that they sing a musical number about Alan Wake and how he's the champion of light, and it is one of the most spectacular video game sequences. Like, Control had a sequence with music from Old Gods of Asgard as well that is like a trippy, mind-bending thing. This somehow tops that, and it's excellent. It's probably my favorite moment in a game this year, in a game that is full of amazing moments. That one really sticks out as like, holy shit, this is amazing. So it's rare for me to give such a high mark to a video game. I don't do it lightly, and I don't think Alan Wake 2 is a perfect game. So with that being said, this game I'm giving an A+. I loved everything about it. I highly recommend it. It will easily be my game of the year. It's one of those games where, like, halfway through it, and I think I said it on the last podcast, I was about halfway through at the time, I'm like, this is my game of the year. There's no way that they're going to do something that makes it not my game of the year. Like, it's so fucking incredible. And I loved every minute of it. So A+ for Alan Wake 2. I highly encourage anybody out there, if you haven't had a chance to experience this game, if I could give one other remark about it here, it's that why was this game not put out physically? I want a physical copy of this game. So A+, highly recommended. Best video game I played in 2023. Right now is a game of the generation for me. I love it that much. Please go play Alan Wake 2. It is tremendous. Anyways, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.